Welcome back to The Busy Baker. Today on the channel, we're making this easy, no-bake pumpkin cheesecake. It's one of my favorite fall recipes because of how easy it is to make. And it's ultra creamy, silky, and smooth, and so delicious because it's packed with pumpkin and all those fall spices. It's a great dessert to make ahead for Thanksgiving dinner because you can make it a day in advance and serve it straight from the fridge. And it's so much easier to make than a baked cheesecake. I just know you're gonna love this no-bake pumpkin cheesecake as much as I do. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. Okay, so we're gonna start with the crust. Now I've got a 9-inch springform pan here and the bottom is lined with parchment paper. And I've also sprayed the inside of the pan and on top of the parchment paper with some baking spray just for quick release after the cheesecake is done. We're gonna work on the crust first. So I've got 2 cups of gingersnap cookie crumbs here that I crumbled myself in a food processor. You could also use graham cracker crumbs for this recipe, whatever you have on hand or whatever is easy for you to get at the supermarket. And to this, we're gonna add 6 tablespoons of melted butter. Next, I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. This is for a little bit of added sweetness, but also for flavor. So we'll just mix this up till all of the cookie crumbs are nice and moist. And then we're gonna press it into our pan. This crust mixture is probably a little bit more moist than others you might have made in the past, especially if you make a lot of baked cheesecakes. But because this is a no-bake cheesecake, we wanna make sure that the crust is nice and moist. And that butter, when we put the crust in the fridge, when the cheesecake is setting, it will solidify nicely and help make the crust stick together. So the crust is all mixed together here, and I'm just gonna add it into the bottom of my pan. And now I'm just gonna press the crust into the bottom of the pan and up the sides just a little bit into the corner. Something that's really helpful to have on hand when you're doing this job is anything that has a very flat surface. So I like to use the bottom of a measuring cup, and it just helps me really pack it down and pack it into the sides as well. Again, because we're not baking this crust, we really want to make sure that it's packed down as well as possible. Okay, so I've got my crust packed down as evenly as I can, and I'm gonna set this aside and make the filling. Okay, so I'm gonna start with 24 ounces of full fat cream cheese. That's about 660 grams of cream cheese. And before I add anything to this, I'm going to whip it as much as I can with my hand mixer so that it's nice and creamy and smooth. The key to an ultra creamy no-bake cheesecake is to make sure that most of your ingredients are at room temperature. So this cream cheese has been sitting out for a couple of hours just to make sure that it's nice and warm at room temperature so all of the ingredients integrate very nicely and everything is nice and smooth. So to this cream cheese here that I have whipped for a couple of minutes, I'm gonna add half a cup of powdered sugar. Give that a mix. And it's important that at every step you give the bowl a good scrape. Next, I'm gonna add a very unlikely ingredient in a pumpkin cheesecake, and that is a tablespoon of lemon juice. Now you might be thinking, why are you adding lemon to a pumpkin cheesecake? Well, let me explain. This is why I love cooking and baking as much as I do, is because it's both an art and a science. So when you add an acid like lemon juice to any milk product, especially like cream cheese that has a lot of protein in it, the acid helps the protein coagulate, which is just a fancy way of saying it helps stabilize the cheesecake. So the cheesecake will be more sliceable and firm if you include an acid in it. Now we use lemon juice because it doesn't have as much flavor as like vinegar, for example. And so you actually can't taste the lemon at all, but it does the job of making the cheesecake nice and firm and nice and sliceable. So I'm gonna add in my lemon juice and give that a mix. Next, I'm going to add all the flavorful ingredients. So I'm gonna add 4 tablespoons of maple syrup. I'm gonna add 1/2 of a cup of pumpkin puree. And I'm also going to add a tablespoon of pumpkin spice. If you don't happen to have pumpkin spice at home, you can just use a mixture of cinnamon and ginger and cloves and nutmeg. Gonna give that a good mix. It's always important to scrape down the sides of the bowl. So I have 2 more ingredients to add, and the first one is 8 ounces of white chocolate that I have melted, and I'm gonna add that in while the mixer is running in a nice, slow, steady stream. Now the white chocolate, again, doesn't make this cheesecake taste like white chocolate. It adds sweetness, but it also adds stabilization, helping the cheesecake become more firm and sliceable after it's set in the fridge. So I'm gonna slowly add the white chocolate. The fact that we're adding white chocolate here is another reason why it's so important that your ingredients are at room temperature, because if your cream cheese is cold, when you add the melted white chocolate, you're gonna get something called the stracciatella effect, which means that the white chocolate is gonna solidify in tiny little pieces, and you're gonna be able to see little flecks of white chocolate throughout the batter, and you don't want that in a creamy cheesecake. Sometimes the stracciatella effect is a good thing, like when you're having ice cream in Italy. It's the best. Once again, gonna scrape down the sides of the bowl just to make sure everything's incorporated. So I'm gonna ditch the hand mixer now, and I'm gonna switch to a spatula because I'm going to incorporate 2 cups of whipped cream. I'm gonna fold this in nice and gently. Get everything off those mixer. Okay, so I've got 2 cups of whipped cream here, and I'm just gonna fold this in very gently. The purpose of the whipped cream is to add lightness and lift to the cheesecake. It makes it nice and fluffy. We're gonna use a folding action here, which is basically just turning the batter over itself until all of the whipped cream is incorporated. You'll see that the filling here is gonna lighten in color a little bit, but it still smells so good. I wish you could smell it. So it looks like the whipped cream has been completely incorporated. I can't see any more white streaks in there. So now I'm going to put my filling into my prepared crust. So I'm gonna start with a dollop in the middle. It's important to make sure you spread it out really carefully and really well so that you don't get any pockets of air in there. You don't want any bubbles in your cheesecake. Dolloping it into the middle and then pushing it out to the sides. So I'm gonna use an offset spatula to help me make sure that the top of the cheesecake is nice and smooth and even, and to make sure I push all of that cheesecake filling into all the edges. If you don't have an offset spatula, that's totally fine. You can use a butter knife for this, or you can just use a regular spatula too, that works. So there's a few different ways you can set this cheesecake. The first way is 6 hours in the fridge or overnight in the fridge, and then it should be firmed up enough for you to slice it. The second way is that you can throw it in the fridge for 2 hours and then into the freezer for 2 hours, and then it should be nice and firm. Or you can simply freeze it for 3 to 4 hours and it should be good to go. I'm gonna throw this in the fridge and we'll see you in a few hours. Okay, so our cheesecake has set and it looks great. This part always makes me nervous, even though I don't know why, it always turns out perfectly. You can release it gently from the pan. If necessary, you can run a knife around the outside to let it release. I'm gonna do this the opposite way. Look at that, so perfect. This is where it's handy to make sure that you line the pan with parchment paper because it makes it easy to remove. I've maneuvered the cheesecake out of the pan and onto a cake stand. You can serve it on whatever kind of plate you want. Just make sure you take care when you remove it from the pan. And if necessary, you can clean up the edges a little bit. I like to serve this with some whipped cream on top. So I'm just gonna add a bit of that and spread it out over the top. And then I also like to add a few of the leftover cookie crumbs from the crust, just to add some contrast and some crunch. And I'm gonna add a little bit of caramel sauce too, just to finish it off. And there you have it, it's ready to serve. When you slice into it, be sure to use a clean knife and have a piece of paper towel handy so that you can clean the knife off as you make the slices so they're all nice and clean. The moment of truth. Absolutely delicious. This cheesecake is so creamy, so silky smooth, and it's full of pumpkin flavor. But besides how delicious it is so easy to make. It's the perfect fall dessert, and you don't even have to turn on your oven. As always, the full recipe is in the description box below, and you can also click the link below to head to the website for more details, tips, tricks, and troubleshooting ideas. I hope you love this no-bake pumpkin cheesecake recipe as much as I do, and if you do, give this video a thumbs up, leave me a comment down below letting me know how you like it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more delicious recipes just like this one. See you next time!